Welcome back, my friends. It's Smoking and Toasting, and it's show number 154. We are the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. And bacon.
Have you guys ever been to B&B Butchers?
Yes.
Have you
ever had the bacon appetizer?
Oh
my God.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's it's completely impossible to describe it to someone.
I know.
You just have to go. You just have to try. You just take my word for
blue
it.
Cheese on
That's my favorite.
Yeah,
And then if you go across the street to BB Lemon, they have a variation on it on their menu, which is they don't have like all the different bacons, but they have this bacon with Parmesan. Oh my God!
Yeah,
you can have a highway cocktail at BB Lemons while you're there.
Oh, okay. So this
Nice.
is good. So
Nice
we
little
have
placement.
we have guests in the studio today, Ben Williams and Wendell Robbins, who are with Highway Vodka. Guys, you are relatively new. When did your product first come out?
I guess that's a two-parter, right?
Yeah, well, we've been doing it for about 7 years.
Okay.
But it actually came to market in March.
Okay.
Yeah, and it took us 3.5 years to get the permits. Number one.
Wow.
So,
I believe it, but
yeah, it was crazy. And but yeah, since March.
So one of the things we talk about with the craft whiskeys is that it takes a while to come to market because you generally will not release the whiskey right after you distill it. It has to age a little bit. Vodka, not so much.
Right.
But with you guys, it was really just the getting together of all of the legal stuff and all the stuff that had to be done to actually make this launch, right?
Yeah, because of the hemp involved in the process.
Oh,
and
but that
stuff
threw
like
up
that.
all kinds of red flags.
Right.
Yeah.
And multiple rounds of testing and approvals and this and that. So just a lot of paperwork.
So where did the idea come from? Because the vodka can be distilled from a number of different sources,
Right.
unlike some spirits which you come from one place and one sugar cane only for rum, for example. But what gave you the idea to involve hemp in the process, and what else is included, if anything, that you're distilling?
Well, we started distilling, just playing around years ago, and then a buddy of ours had a dispensary in California and was talking about how they were playing around with, infusing, marijuana and stuff like that. So we started thinking about hemp as an alternative because of some of the cool things that happened with that plant. So once we got into it, we found that it just changed everything from what we were doing. And again, we were just having fun, whatever. But we owned a couple bars and restaurants and stuff. So, tasting some people on it, seeing what they thought, and kind of just took its own life, and we just started figuring out how to do this.
Isn't it so weird that are you opening the beer? Oh.
I figure while we're talking,
yes,
I'll
let's
pour
do
for
it.
you.
But thank you for providing the sound effect. Does it strike you as weird that the cannabis plant has been so demonized when it seems to be maybe the most miracle-oriented plant that's ever been grown? Like this, from the medicinal properties to the strength of hemp as a rope and a clothing source. It's it just seems like
Fiber.
it's the miracle plant, and so of course let's make sure we demonize that.
Right.
And of course that's beginning to calm down a little bit as we go. But I'm amazed at the properties, and I know that I haven't really studied it. I only know the half of it, but my wife takes the different CBD oil things for pain relief, and they work really, really well. And it's man, is there anything this plant can't do? I guess.
Have you never seen the movie Reefer Madness? That's all true.
Oh yes, that was what formed my early opinions about the marijuana plant. But it's just so interesting to me, though, to see now that it's winding up being infused into all kinds of things. I mean, you're seeing it infused into beer, you're seeing it infused to different things. But it wasn't until I heard about your product that I first heard about it being infused in or used in the production of vodka. And correct my language. It's not an infusion, right?
No,
it's
not.
not that at all. It's
grain to glass
part of grain to
process.
glass
Yes.
process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I also want to mention that how I found out about this was my wife and I went to brunch at Lucille's, which is a great restaurant here in the Houston area. It's the first time I'd been there, but my wife had been there for brunch before. She's like, I got to take you to this place. It's awesome. And she was right, it is. But when we were there having brunch, one of the waiters had a shirt on, a T-shirt on that was the Highway vodka, and it said hemp. What would the T-shirt say? Would it say hemp-based vodka?
Yeah, hemp-based vodka, Texas first hemp-based
Texas
vodka.
first hemp-based vodka. Okay, and she's like, "Wow, I never heard of that." So I'm like, "Wow!" So immediately we went to work trying to find out more about it. Contacted these gentlemen and found out you actually have some connection to that restaurant, don't you?
Yeah, my brother and I founded that restaurant about 8 years ago.
I'd say that's a connection. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good connection.
Wow.
Yeah.
First of all, it's amazing, dude. Your menu is unbelievable.
Thank you.
The
Yeah.
food is terrific, and they had a great little jazz band playing there for brunch. It was awesome. Oh, just awesome. But it's terrific. So from the restaurant to the vodka. You've been messing around in this space for a little while, haven't you?
For a little while, and once we started getting some legs on this end of everything, I had to separate, from the restaurant business.
Sure, yeah.
And we sold our bar that we had, and decided to do this full time because this is just a lot more fun, and it's just more fun. Period.
So you actually came out. The product actually came out in March of this year.
Correct.
Yes.
And so how has the response been from retail places so far? Are they cautious because it's hemp based, or does that increase the interest?
I think that increases the interest.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Since the federal government passed the hemp legalization. There's been a lot of interest in anything hemp based.
Right.
And being the first vodka in Texas, we were in that lane and didn't realize we were in that lane until it was, oh, heck, look what we're doing.
Wow. So I'm really looking forward to asking you guys some more questions and doing some tasting. But if I don't start on this beer tasting, Ian's not going to have any left to talk about.
I'm just going to finish with mine.
So Ian has mentioned that we were big fans of the brewery. We like what they're all about. They have, and you saw the 16-ounce can, Ian. So that's
That is, I don't know that I've ever seen the brewery in a can.
Yeah, well,
I always see it in a bomber.
And welcome to the brewery in a can. This is their wit beer, and it is 8.8. And what can you tell us about it from the can there?
Well, on a can, it says, we make wit the funk with the tradition in mind, brewed with orange peel, coriander, fermented with yeast, Brettanomyces, and our Taro house mixed culture, aged in oak foeders until final maturation. The result is a complex beer that's tart, funky, oaky, crusty, super drinkable. Sure, it takes longer, but WTF, it's worth it.
Well, you want to? I just want to mention when we're opening with barrel aging and Brettanomyces and 8.8. This is going to be an interesting show. But when that's the first beer, because
We're going to be singing by the end of this
we
show.
got an Imperial IPA and we got Woot Stout coming. So it's like that's
And
why
vodka.
that's why this is first, and vodka. Yeah. So what are your thoughts? It is funky. That's
It is
for sure.
funky. I like
Quite.
first off the brewery. I mean, like you said, there's almost nothing from them. I've had some stuff that I like more, but it's always high quality. High quality beer stuff. Stuff from them that I've liked more or less than other stuff from them. This right here is outstanding. This is so crisp and refreshing, yet tart and funky at the same time, which is a very strange balance to me, because usually tart and funky has a little bit heavier feel, but this has just such a light effervescence.
Almost like a champagne or a sparkling wine.
It has a
vibe to
lot
it.
of CO2 in it as well, but it seems to work with what's going on. They tell you to serve it pretty cold. They say serve it at 45 degrees. It's probably not too far off from what you have here. The flavors, it's interesting because after the initial taste of it, you get that tart and you get that that kind of little bit of funkiness, but after you go through the initial tasting of this, it has such an interesting, that orange
finish, yeah.
peel
Mhm.
and all those things.
Coriander, maybe?
Yeah, the spices start kind of flowing through, and I don't really get coriander on the flavor, but on the retrohale, if you take a sip and then breathe gently out of your nose, you can get some of those spicier flavors.
This isn't my favorite style of beer. I'm not a huge wheat beer fan. I enjoy it occasionally, but this is so interesting.
It is.
And this is what makes me really happy about the whole, Goose Island Brettanomyces, and then that is spreading to everywhere. That the fact that a beer like this actually gets made, I think, is awesome.
See,
Because this is definitely a not for everybody.
This would be dangerous.
kind of beer.
If you had 4 or 5 of these sitting down, I probably wouldn't even have looked at the ABV. There's no booziness to this at all. This tastes crisp and refreshing in the way that a lot of beers
like
that
a
are
summer
4%
saison, right?
taste.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would
Yeah.
probably drink it like one to much different results.
But there is something, though, really wonderful about taking this one slow and doing the sipping thing with it, as opposed to, kind of throwing it back like something crushable. Because that finish that you get and that retrohale is definitely worth experiencing. Don't you
Yeah.
think?
I mean, I actually have to slow myself down on this one because I could just toss this whole thing back and go with it. And
Yeah, no problem.
I mean, it's so easy to drink.
I wish you'd said that up
Congratulations to the
front.
brewery. You guys did a
Right.
great job.
As,
Great job on that.
As they almost, again, we haven't had anything from them. And we've had some of their sours. Oh, man. They've been amazing. And this has got, maybe not sour, but a little tartness to it. It definitely has a little bit of that appeal.
And the funk. The funk on that aftertaste
Yes.
and through the retrohale is so good.
Digging the funk. I'm digging the funk. So this would be maybe one of the better examples of the funk in a lighter style of
Yes.
beer that I've ever
Yes.
tasted. Yeah.
Yes.
Because usually, like you said, that's something you
It
associate
usually
with
has a
something
little bit of a
heavier,
heavier
little
feel
darker.
to it when you add a lot of the funkiness into the beer.
Yep, agree totally. Okay, so last year, the parent company for Budweiser, AB InBev, spent most of the football season running ads making fun of people who like craft beer, even though they just spent most of that year.
Or anything that's not, for the many.
For the many, right. Even though earlier that year they'd spent millions and billions of dollars buying craft breweries and adding them to their portfolio.
Forget all that advice people have told you to be yourself.
Yeah.
Listen to AB InBev.
Yeah.
Dilly dilly,
Be the many.
be the many.
Yeah. Well, this year they're
Cheap.
going back to the craft consumer and trying to woo them in via the NFL by doing co-branded craft beers with teams. And just a reminder that
Nothing two-faced about that.
yeah, no, nothing at all. Just a reminder that on this show, we will still refer to a beer as craft, even if it is owned by one of the bigger companies. It's simply not independent. But if it's made with, if it's made in a craft kind of way, if it was a craft brewery before it was acquired by the big boys, we'll still think of it as craft. So Golden Road Brewing, one of the breweries that AB InBev bought, has teamed up with the Los Angeles Rams, and they've released Whose House, as in whose house is this, Blonde Ale. So that's going to be available.
That just makes me think of Run DMC.
Yeah.
So, like when you say whose house, it's Run's
Exactly.
house.
Thank you. It is a blonde ale, 4.8, and it will be available in 15-pack 12-ounce cans and 25-ounce cans at retail in Southern California and Hawaii, plus at the Memorial Coliseum where the Rams play. If you are a fan of the Seattle Seahawks, you will be able to get some Elysian beer at the games. Now, Elysian is really a very, very good brewery from the Northeast that was
Stardust IPA. and,
it was just a Space Dust.
Space Dust, that's right, Space
IPA.
Dust IPA.
Yeah, terrific, and they've got a lot of other great beers. And you'll be able to get their new beer called The Noise at CenturyLink Field in Seattle. That is a reference to Seattle is one of those stadiums where apparently it's like one of the noisiest stadiums to play in, and they refer to the crowd as the 13th man and all that kind of stuff. So it's a drinkable pale ale with hints of citrus, candied orange, and vanilla. It is 5.1, and that's available in the Seattle area and throughout the the Great Northwest. Devil's Backbone, a very well-respected brewery from the other side of the company, have teamed up with the Washington Redskins to launch ATTR, which stands for Ale to the Redskins. It's a gold ale, and also they've released an ATTR Burgundy ale. Hail to the Redskins is the Redskins fight song, and so they've attached it that way. 5.6 and 6.2 respectively, and that's available in the D.C. area and at Redskins games. In Denver, Breckenridge Brewery, another one purchased by AB InBev, is teaming up with the Denver Broncos. They have launched United in Orange. It's a pale ale brewed with orange juice and orange peel. It was introduced actually in 2016, and in 2017 it became available in 4-packs. Now that's expanded to 15 packs with the Broncos logo on the can, and you can also get it at the stadium, Mile High Stadium, and in stores in Colorado. And in Arizona, Redbird Lager is with the Arizona Cardinals and Four Peaks Brewery. They wanted to celebrate the most diehard Cardinals fan, the Red Sea, by giving them a new locally brewed beer they can enjoy while cheering on Arizona's home team. It's an amber lager. It's at 4.5%, and so these are, it's not every market. I'm actually a little curious they didn't do
This sounds like
something
a
with
great
Carbon
strategy for them to recoup and make some money to come up with their next bully campaign.
Right, to bully campaign against
Right? Against
so
the
this
people
year-
that
yeah.
just bought all the microbrewery
So
stuff.
it'll be interesting to see if Dilly Dilly goes completely away this year. I haven't seen a Dilly Dilly commercial in a number of months, but then again, I don't watch a lot of commercial television. It has a tendency for me to be when the NFL season comes around, or baseball goes into the playoffs, or something like that, that I begin to see commercials by watching regular
So,
television.
it's funny because they've kind of painted themselves into a corner. So, obviously, they're getting flack because of the Dilly Dilly thing, the bully campaign against drinking anything that's not for the many.
Even if that flack is only from
but
us,
they
they're getting
own a bunch of craft breweries.
just
but they
bought
also
another
have
one.
to sell that.
right.
How do they balance that?
I don't think they care.
I mean, that's,
I really don't. I think they just
They just
don't
look
care.
at it as two complete entities, or maybe they don't really care that much about the craft beer.
Maybe they think that the
or
craft
maybe they're
beer
losing
consumer
5% at each football game due to people who want real beer, and so they're putting theirs in there instead.
Maybe
that
they-
seems pretty feasible.
Maybe they figured the craft beer consumer wasn't going to buy Bud Light anyway, so it won't hurt to insult them, and that maybe most people aren't doing the math and figuring out that Bud Light is basically the beer from the same company that owns Elysian and owns Carbach and owns Goose Island and so many of the other really great breweries that they bought. So I don't know. It's
There's a bad taste of bigotry in my mouth on that one. I just
and when you have a bad taste in your mouth, the beer doesn't taste as good.
Yeah, it's difficult for me because there's so many great beers that they bought that I would love to sometimes buy, except for I just don't want to put my money in that pocket.
I understand.
And even though I may really enjoy, some of the beers from, that AB InBev now owns, I usually choose elsewhere.
It's going to be interesting to watch how this develops. So I'll keep you posted. I'll be watching football this year. I'll keep you posted on what's happening. So, okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's vodka time, my friends. I have never tasted hemp-based vodka before, so I'm really excited about doing this. And although I've had a lot of different vodkas, so it'll be interesting to see how this, from a flavor profile standpoint, how this stacks up. But Highway vodka is Texas' first hemp-based vodka.
Yes.
Correct.
And the taste test is next. You're checking
go.
out Smoking and Toasting.
All right.